testimonials because you should have some. I mean, if you have happy clients, you need to spread that message that, hey, my clients like working with me, and here's why. Because if you don't have that, it's just you pounding your own drum, and nobody wants to hear that.
So I haven't looked at the slides today. I've had a busy morning teaching about Medicare, but I'm really excited because I hope we get into the camp of, do you ask for testimonials, or how do you get testimonials?
We approach that a little bit. We dive into more of that during Digital Agent Week, which happens at 11 o'clock today, Central Time. So right after this, if you haven't registered yet, go to smsteam.net, go to events, and we're doing a Digital Agent Week, which is today, tomorrow, and Thursday at 11 o'clock from like 11 to 11:45. It's maybe half hour, 40 minutes of your websites,
just kidding,
social media, and other digital thingamabobbers that we kind of understand and we kind of share knowledge.
Yeah.
Kind of, yes. So yeah.
What is your definition of a testimonial?
Next slide. It's basically social proof.
Social proof.
Yes. And this comes from a term of a company that does what's their name? It was on the tip of my tongue. Referral Rocket referrals.
Rocket referral.
Yes, referral Rocket. Nope, flip that around. They didn't coin the term social proof, but that's what they say testimonials are. It's recommendations and reviews from others that have used a product or service before deciding. And it's, you know what? That's what we all do. And we'll talk more about that, the Amazon effect, as we call it. But if you're telling me that I should use you because you're great, of course you're going to say that. Nobody says, hey, you should use me as an agent. I very rarely return phone calls. I don't read my emails, and I don't really understand what I'm selling, but I'm a nice guy, so you should buy from me.
Well, I mean, think about it like this, and as an agent perspective, when you guys, I know everybody gets calls every single day from FMOs, NMAs, IGMs, ABCs, trying to get you to take a contract through them. All FMOs say the same thing, initially at least. They say, we pay the highest commissions, we give you free leads, we give you, we have the best customer service, they all say the same thing. So if an FMO calls you and says, hey, you should use me because we do all of these things, it's not going to hold near as much weight other than another agent saying, hey, this is the FMO that I use because they do all these things for me. It's just a social proof is going to hold much more weight.
Did you get a haircut?
No. And did I comb it? No.
So there's some stats on why you should have testimonials for yourself. 91% of shoppers read online reviews before making a decision. And that's something, if you ever look up a local business, you'll see that there's a Google review with actual, reviews on there, just like Amazon. And 82% of people ask for referrals and recommendations from family and friends before they make a decision. We all do the same thing. Hey, I need a lawn service. Who should I use? Where should I take my car to get tires done? What's the best place for daycare? Anything we're doing, you always look to friends and family like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this, but I better double check my friends and family on what they're doing.
Thank you, Belinda. Belinda's making me feel better about my hair choices.
He said, looks like you combed it, so that's a compliment.
Okay. What's really scary, though, and just to kind of think about this, that there is such a high impact and high importance behind people looking for that social proof to say, what was your experience like with this provider? What was your experience like with this service? What's so scary to me is that statistics show that people are much more likely to, whenever they have to write a review, much more likely to spend the energy writing a negative experience or a negative review than it is to do a positive one. Which is really terrifying to me, because you almost have to go for somebody to feel motivated enough to write a positive review about you, an unprompted positive review about you. Your services have to go above and beyond. Your services can't be, I went to the gas station and got my gas. You have to do something tremendous to evoke that motivation. It doesn't take a lot of motivation for individuals to write a negative review about you, and it really turns the scale against the favor of an agent.
15 years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, you could suck as an agent, because if Myrtle did not like your service,
Mhm.
she didn't really have social media or the internet to turn to
Mhm.
start writing nasty reviews. She thought, well, that was a horrible experience. And by the time she was at Bridge Club 4 days later, she's
Mhm.
probably long forgotten about that crappy service.
That's so true.
Now, as soon as you leave the house or hang up the phone, yeah, I actually wrote a bad review for Steak and Shake,
Which Steak and Shake?
the one here in town,
Okay, there's 2 in town.
the one off of Worley.
Well, that's why you don't go to the one off Worley.
I went there once
Market's
because
way
my
better.
kids wanted it, and as I was seeing the drive-through, because they would, as I started getting my order, he goes, "Okay, pull around." I'm like, "I'm not done getting my order yet." He did that 3 times to me,
Really?
and I wrote a nasty review in the drive-through line before I got my food. I had a nasty review online.
But that's my exact point. Had you gone to Steak and Shake, gotten your food, if nothing went wrong, everything went okay, you wouldn't have written a review about that.
Exactly.
You would not have written a positive review.
Mhm.
It didn't take, I'm not going to say that you were a little maybe temperamental. I'm not going to say that you were.
Oh, I was hot that day. Oh, yeah.
But it didn't take much
No.
for you to write a negative review.
No, and it was easy. I mean,
Mhm.
Google makes it super simple to write a quick review on there, and all it takes is a couple 1-star reviews to really get people a second guess calling you or
Mhm.
contacting you for insurance.
Mhm.
And this is, we've all been to Amazon, so this is, and I picked this out of my wish list because this is the coffee grinder that I am wanting to purchase.
Nerd.
Yep, but here's why. It's not because Bartiza or whatever you say a company is said what a
Brazos.
great what?
Brazza.
Brazza. I like that.
Brazza.
Not because they say it's great. It's because it's got over 9,000 reviews at 4.5 stars, which tells me they're either A, paying for reviews, but probably not 9,000, or it's really that good. And I've done my homework, and that prompted me to go on to Google outside of Amazon and start researching some other reviews, and end up everyone really loves this coffee grinder. So it wasn't, again, the company saying how good this product is. It's everybody else saying how great it is. And that's going to drive my decision to spend $139 on a coffee grinder when we have one that costs $20 and does just a fine job. But I want to be fancy.
And a coffee grinder is how you're going to do that.
Yes.
That is your ticket to Fancyland.
That is my ticket to stardom.
Okay.
Step 1, nice grinder.
So anyways, the idea here though is exactly what Mike is saying. There is very little to no weight held on what a company is going to say about itself, because of course they're not going to tell you the ugly truths behind their advertising, the ugly truths behind their services. So that's what your goal is. Of course, you still want to do your advertising, but noticing that your advertising and your marketing isn't necessarily, its job isn't to convince people to come talk to you. The job is to have your name become more familiar to them. So whenever, and have your name equate with insurance, so that whenever you do and people are asking reviews, people are asking for recommendations, your name is much more familiar. How do you get people to write you reviews?
Yeah, before we jump into that, it's
okay.
prospects want to hear from your clients and what's really like to work with you. Because again, as we mentioned earlier, every FMO, like Olivia said, every insurance agent is the greatest agent on the planet. They're honest, they know their product, they respond properly, blah, blah, blah. That's not always the case. So but like Olivia said, how do you get these reviews? And that's the hardest part. One, you need to make it easy. I see a lot of people asking for reviews and they send me, it looks like a workbook. And I'm like, nope, it can't be complex. It's got to be
fill
simple.
out this survey. It's only going to take you 45 hours.
Yep. Now, if you are doing something a little more intense, you need to offer incentives. And like, I'll give you a perfect example. I got an email today from the company of one of the softwares we use. It says, hey, we need a little bit of your time. It's going to take about 10 minutes, but you enter to win a $50 Amazon gift card. So that they know, hey, we know it's going to take a while, but we'll incentivize you to do this. Or simple Google form, which is, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how to rate my business. On a scale of 1 to 10, how to rate this, and then any comments. And it's got to be to the point where it's going to take me less than a minute. So I'll do it.
Remind me, because I want to talk about the rocket referral structure. Okay. I think that's important of how they do it. Before I get to that,
yes.
So my husband, if you guys don't know, he owns his own business. He builds houses for a living. And so I have self-appointed me as the chief officer of marketing for his business. I give myself a title and everything. I'm on the Sam's card. So
you have the Sam's card?
The Sam's membership.
Is that what you had to do?
I'm as a CDR construction employee. because I'm the chief marketing officer.
Nice.
Anyways,
I'm sorry you didn't say CEO.
I gave myself a promotion. That's too much responsibility. I can't handle that.
Okay.
So anyways, what we've done, we actually started this program for when he builds a house. What he does is what everybody should do, but you write a thank you card.
Right.
In that thank you card for saying thank you for trusting me to build your new home, he gives out 5 business cards with that. The traditional, everybody does that. If you're not doing that, you should.
Right.
Then he puts in there, it would really help me out and help me with my business if you would go on my Facebook page and write me a review.
Yep.
Out of the last 5 people he built a house for, all 5 of them wrote him a review.
Yeah.
By just saying, if you, it would really help me out if you would go and write me a review on Facebook, because again, and you can only do that if you do provide a good quality service. If somebody hated you or you really didn't do a ton for them, you just enrolled them into a plan and moved on, maybe not the case. But when people don't like to feel like they're indebted, people like to feel like, you helped me, so let me help you.
Reciprocity.
So exactly. So when you tell them, this would help me, this would help my career, this would help my business, if you do this, again, out of the last 5 houses he built, all 5 of them went on. And we're talking about weeks after the fact. We're motivated to go on there and write a review for him. So it's just simply asking for it. I think a lot of times is the direct way of doing it, because a lot of people, like we talked about, the motivation isn't necessarily there to write a positive review like it is a negative review. People don't necessarily think to do that. So don't be hesitant to say, it would help me out, or to refer them to your Facebook page to make that review. It's not because they don't want to do it. They just don't think to do that. So pointing them in that direction and giving them that in is really effective.
Yeah, and one of the things that when I was researching, gathering testimonials, is if you're nervous, like if you have a lot of people you're sending it to, you don't want a couple 1-star reviews to really take away from the 5-star reviews, because let's face it, 1-star reviews kind of carry more weight than 5 stars in certain cases. So they said a Google form, because that doesn't get published to the internet right away. You control the flow of information from that, and then maybe you could reach out to them and say, hey, could you put this in a Google form or in a Google review or Facebook review or something of that nature. But the other side of it is it doesn't go to the internet. So there's a pro and con of that, of having the Google form. It also tells you how you're doing as a business, because you may not realize you're doing something that's upsetting your clients. If you see something that's, this keeps coming up as an issue, it gives you the opportunity to correct it for your clients and prospects as well.
Yeah, that's what what I love about the what we utilize called Rocket Referrals.
I was about to remind you.
Yeah, so we use a program called Rocket Referrals, and I'll be the first to admit that when Rocket Referrals was first brought to us as like, hey, is this something we want our company to invest in? I was like, this is a waste of time. What it is basically a survey service that gets you referrals, and I was like, that's a waste of time, waste of money. No one's gonna do that. I was very quickly corrected. After getting that for 6 months, we've gotten tons of reviews from it, tons of feedback from it. It's been incredible. So here is how Rocket Referrals works. You don't need to spend the money on something like Rocket Referrals if you want to spend the time to do this yourself, but it is very effective. So what they do is it starts with one simple question of, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your experience with Senior Marketing Specialist? If they rate you a 8 or 9 or 10, they will then prompt you to say, will you tell us why your experience is like that? Will you give us, tell us why your feedback was like that? If you are rated a 1 through 6, it'll also prompt them to say, tell me why you rated them that way, because you need to know, like Mike just said, you need to know why you're getting negative reviews, why people are not enjoying their experiences with you. And then if you're giving a 7 or an 8, you know that their experience is very mediocre. They're probably not going to be a very loyal client base. But it does this automatically. And depending on how they answer and depending on how they rate you, allows them to either leave a review or allows them to explain to you why they maybe didn't give you such a positive review. It automates everything, makes it very, very simple, and it's a nice little step process. Ultimately, it makes a client look at you and think about you for about 10 minutes, but it breaks it up in such small bites, a client doesn't actually have to do anything more than a couple minutes. It just sends them a series of emails. It's great. It's a really great service.
John asked a phenomenal question. Do you have the ability to delete the bad reviews on Facebook and Google? And the answer is no, but they'd give you the opportunity to rebuttal.
Mhm.
Because, and I would say if you do get a bad review, definitely post rebuttal, because when people see a bad review with no rebuttal, that says that I don't care enough to respond to when people are upset.
Mhm.
So, and I think I think society online has evolved to, we expect there to be bad reviews.
Yeah.
It's natural. Like the coffee maker looked at, it wasn't 5 stars, it was 4.5 of 9,000 reviews, which means there's quite a few unhappy people own it, but there's vast majority of people that do enjoy it. So the good outweighs the bad with that. So you will get bad reviews, and you know what? You almost want bad reviews, because if everything is too perfect, then it looks like you were paying for it.
Yeah.
Or your family did it for, hey, mom, will you write me a review? Of course I will. And she writes you a glowing review. That looks fake. So you want that balance of good and bad. It just makes you look more authentic.
You want a lot of reviews, and you want them to be very authentic. Again, like Mike mentioned. But, and just to be clear, giving a rebuttal for a review does not mean fighting with that review. Rebuttal, a lot of times it can be simply apologizing. I apologize that you had that experience. We'd like to make it right. You know, even if it's something that, my number one thing is, don't ever apologize for something that's not your fault. Because when you apologize for something, you're taking fault.
Unless you're married.
Well, I mean, yes. That's marriage advice is not the same thing as business advice. But do not apologize for something that is not your fault. So if they're frustrated about a lot of the things, because again, people will not differentiate between the carrier and your services. So if they're mad because an app took too long, or they were denied something and things like that, just be cautious about how that rebuttal is. It's, if Mike's got a review about how I hated it, it took me weeks for me to get an answer on my app saying, Mike, hey Mike, thank you so much for reaching out and letting us know your experience with United Healthcare. We'd like to go ahead and help you correct that. We can put you with a different carrier. Just things like that. I'm not apologizing for that, or we'd love to get, make sure you stay more in contact with us. If it is something that you did, maybe they say they gave me rotten cookies, or their waiting room smelled like cigarettes or something like that. That is something that you need to apologize. I'm sorry that you had that experience. I appreciate the feedback. We'll go ahead and upgrade our services and upgrade our waiting area. We'd love to have you back as a client, things like that. But again, you're not fighting. You are taking and just reaching out, and I think it's more acknowledgement. You're acknowledging it more than anything else.
You said something very key there. Some of the things they complain about may not be because of you, but you're the face of the transaction.
Yeah.
So like Olivia said, if an application took too long, or they didn't get their cards in time, or something was delayed but wasn't your fault, again, read the review, and you might have to look a couple layers deep into why they're so upset. So it might not be directly on you. And then once you get those reviews, though, use them on your website, your social media, your marketing materials, everywhere, because it shows, hey, I have other people I help, and they're happy. So we want to put you on this happy list like everybody else.
Yes.
And that's what we want to do, because testimonials do work.
They do, for sure.
Yeah, that's why Amazon works so well, because they let you review the product, and there are good and bad reviews on there. But I can buy a product, like if you're in a store, like in Walmart or Target or anywhere else, and you're thinking about buying something, you just have to trust what the box says. Whereas if you're online, you could say, oh, there's 300 people that reviewed this product already, and I could find someone that's going to use it like I did, and how did their experience work? And ooh, it was bad. Ooh, now I know to buy something else.
I also think it sets the expectations. A lot of people will buy something knowing that, and reading the reviews, knowing that it may work, it may not, they may not have the best quality, but they know what to expect based on what those reviews are. So it sets a lot, social proof and setting the right expectations, I think will go a long way for both referrals and retention of your clients.
Yes. So now this Friday, we're going to talk about expectation versus extraordinary, and this goes right along with getting testimonials. So if you haven't seen our Facebook Lives, it's just on our Facebook page, and we go live at 9 o'clock on Friday mornings, Central Time, of course.
And again, to get to that, you just go to facebook.com, type in the Medicare Cafe. It is the Facebook page, not the Medicare Cafe agents. That is their Facebook group on here.
Yes.
But make sure, again, go to our Facebook page, give it a like so you stay updated on industry updates, as well as being able to see when we go live on Fridays.
Now, if you don't have any testimonials, or if you're sitting with a client on the phone or in person, hopefully more in person now that COVID's kind of being lifted up, one thing you can do, if they say something really nice, jot it down and say, hey, do you mind if I use this on my, I'll leave your name off of it, but I'll just put your initials and say you did this. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Testimony, hashtag Testimony Tuesday.
Yeah, so that's a great way to get some simple testimonials without going through all that. So, hey, thank you so much. I was so confused before. Do you mind if I write this down and share it on social media, not using your name? Oh yeah, go ahead. Now you just got a testimonial with them doing nothing. You're doing a little more of the work, but it's getting you that feedback and getting a feedback to tell others, look how happy you'll be using this, using me.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Any questions on testimonials?
Yeah, guys. Any questions, comments, concerns, threats, or promises in regards to testimonials or just Medicare